Hi, Leanne Donoghue-Tamplin here. Today I'm interviewing Liesl Tesch. When Liesl was 19, she broke her back in a mountain bike accident, and since then she's been a 7-time Paralympian, including winning 2 gold medals. She's a motivational speaker. She's been a high school teacher for 25 years, and now she is currently a member of Parliament for Gosford, New South Wales. So in her lifetime, Liesl has overcome huge obstacles and achieved significant success. This is an inspirational interview and I hope you enjoy it. I'll come back at the end of the interview and share with you the strategies and skills that Liesl identifies that helped her get through and achieve the things that she has achieved. All right, talk to you again soon. So the first thing I want to ask you, Liesl, is how do you define success?
Oh, there's a million different definitions for success, and when you're an athlete, you train to get that small round piece of metal, which is really, really weird. But success comes, I just think as women, we don't actually take time to think of our successes along the way, and it's incredible when you actually take time to sit with a group of women about what women have pulled together in their lives and reflect on those successes. Can be large and small in so many different shapes. So I just think it's almost an indefinite setting something that you want to achieve and actually achieving it.
And
it can be minute and it can be monstrous.
Would you say then that for you there's been a number of different kind of targets you've set and then you've achieved those targets and then you might go on to another one? Is that how you would describe
Absolutely.
your journey?
I suppose I am definitely a goal setter, and that's been my whole life. Yeah. But sitting down with a group of women to set up the National Women's Basketball League and a reminder every year that that's still going is just such a beautiful thing to have, and that makes a difference in so many people's lives, so many women's lives in Australia and Japan and New Zealand. It's great. And also, I'm going to go to Mount Everest Base Camp, and that's, I think, success. That's capacity to book all this stuff in China and get a what is it called? Yeah, to get a visa to get into Tibet and all this crazy stuff. And then there's the final goal at the end, and then I get there, and you can't see Mount Everest because it's cloudy that time of year. But I've still been there.
That happens, doesn't it? You know, sometimes you have a target and you go, it's just not all it was cut out to be, but it'll have to do. So would you consider yourself a success now? Do you describe yourself as that?
Oh, I don't consider myself a success. No, I just consider myself a human being doing what I love.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, absolutely. Like when you stand on the podium and you get the medal around your head, that is because we have succeeded, but I don't think of myself as a success.
When did you start setting those goals and trying to achieve them?
Oh, well, it definitely wasn't during my HSC. I suppose university was about deadlines. So I think probably the deadlines that came through university is actually starting to tick off those things. But then maybe for another one for me, when I crashed my bicycle and broke my back, it's about I'm actually going to walk out of here. And that success, I was in this walking frame thing that was taller than me, and it took me about 3 hours and about 50 kilos of sweat to get from my bed to the door, which wasn't very far away, but in my head I said success.
Yes. Yeah.
So maybe through my rehabilitation and overcoming that whole side of things is a bit of success chasing.
How old were you when you broke your back?
19.
Right. So that's around the time that you're talking about in terms of going to university as well, I would think.
Yeah. So it was a pretty formative time in my life, I suppose, when we're challenging who we are and working out who we are. Yeah.
And you, do you know why you decided I'm going to walk out of here? What was there something?
There was no doubt in my mind I was going to walk out of there. It wasn't. It was just I'm going to walk out of here.
It just never happened any other way. No one thought.
There wasn't a choice. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So if we can just talk today. So I guess for me, I know that's a huge thing that you've been through in terms of breaking your back and then the rehabilitation after. But I actually think you've done a whole lot of other things as well since then. So we're just going to talk. Tell me if you think I'm wrong. So we're going to just talk about everything kind of from there. And so when I ask you about how you did things, it's about that time. So you can you decide which part of your life the question most relates to and what you can draw on, right? So was there a point where, at anywhere along this journey, where you felt like, I'm going to give up, this is hopeless?
No.
Never.
No, so, there's not much that there's not giving up times in my life.
So, so if we just look at some of those stages and you add to what I say, there's this recovery period that you went through after breaking your back at 19. Then you've been a Paralympian 7 times, I think. And so I'm assuming each time, when you made the decision to even do that, you would have had to embark on some kind of a process to get yourself able to do that. And then each time, struggle with being able to do it, for the next Olympics, and keep going. And then you've had, political success as well more recently. And there may be things I don't know about along the way as well. But within each of those journeys to a goal, there's never been a time when you felt like, I'm done, it's too hard.
No, and even then, like out there on the water when it's pouring rain and it's howling wind and the boat's leaning over and you just think, this is ridiculous, why am I just at home on the couch like the rest of my friends? I don't think I'm giving up. There's no point, like when it's at its worst. I'm just going to stop doing this now.
Yeah, right. That's really interesting. I really like that.
Yeah, so I'm really digging into my memory of when I just thought, I'll just give up now. So I don't even give up when I haven't found a 4-leaf clover. I'm just so determined I'm going to find one.
But you said there are times when you feel like, oh, this is so hard. Why aren't I at home on the couch? Like everyone else I know. What makes you? What strategies do you use at that point to keep going? Is there something you rely
on? Well, for me, like in that circumstance, there is, what are our competitors doing? So what are the English team doing right now? What are the American doing right now? How can we possibly be better? If I was an Olympian, what would I be doing right now? If I was sailing in another place in the world, what would I be doing right now? And if you can't give up as well. Like you're stuck out there in the middle of the water and it's pouring down rain. Like you can't stop doing everything because you're still stuck out there in the middle of the water. So I suppose it's putting yourself in circumstances where you're not in a position to give up either.
Yeah. Yes.
Like I'm there, and also I think a lot of my world is in a team environment. So as one person, you can't lie down if you're a team of 4 rowers.
Yeah,
lets everyone down, and that's never been an option. And I think everyone that I've been involved in a team with is about that's not even a consideration.
Yeah. Yes, and so there's not an option to let everyone else down, but I also think teams give you a lot of support. So, they've gone through that same period of it's really tough, it's really hard, and they get where you're at. So they give you quite a lot of support as well to keep going.
Absolutely. And in amongst that, there's a shared definitive goal too.
Yeah. Yes. And so rather than being just the individual, you've got that shared, we're all heading towards this. So you keep lifting each other towards it. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. Yep.
So even in the political...
And also we might say, and we also like to have a laugh. Right. Amongst all that.
And that
we're having, despite the fact the rain is pelting into our faces, in amongst there's a little bit of laughter inside, maybe not delivered right now, but on reflection further down the track about sharing that tough experience as well.
Yeah, yeah. And so even in the political arena and what you've accomplished more recently, that's more of an individual a sport, I guess. How did you, without that team around you, or maybe you had a team, how did you push through some of those difficult times?
I'm absolutely a member of a team. in this political environment. Absolutely. I've never felt so supported as I have as a member of the Labor Party in the role that I'm in now, and the team I've got around me in my office. Like, I might be the figurehead, but the team I've got working behind me in my office and the team I'm a part of as far as Labor goes, I'm a backbencher. I'm working with the Shadow Minister for the Environment, the Shadow Minister for Transport. Like, we are a team identifying things that need to be identified.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So I think it's probably, there's also a reflection that, like, I love people. I love people, and I love working with people. I love working with people to get the best out of the people that I'm with, which then pushes you to be the best person you can be.
Yeah. And so just one more question about that kind of giving up and the strategies you might use to overcome it. When you were 19 and you broke your back, you know there are a lot of people who don't have the same, I guess, resilience is the term I want to use to describe perhaps what pushed you through. So what do you think you did differently, or was a bit different about you, that allowed you to stay focused on, I'm going to walk out of here?
Well, I think I grew up in a pretty alternative family, and we lived fairly well outside the box, and we just did whatever we wanted to do. We grew up on the beach, we collected our own food, we didn't live with a lot of limitations, I think. So I think I've just been given a world. I've grown up as a young person in a world of possibility.
Yeah.
And support. So despite the alcoholic father and the fight between the parents, whatever, the kids have never been made to feel that they couldn't.
Yes, that makes a big difference, I think, that stuff you hear as a kid. Do you use anything, I mean, I'm assuming that going through all those things that you've been through, that there's been stress and pressure and, you know, deadlines and things involved. Do you use any strategies to cope with that stress? Do you, meditate or...
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Like
I don't even think of it as a strategy. I meditate every day. Yeah. I walk the dog every morning and I walk the dog every night. And I used to do it in daylight hours, but in my new role, I do that before the sun comes up, and it's well after the sun goes down, but the dog gets walked every single morning and night. Yeah. And I meditate. So I meditate in bed, I meditate wherever I am. I put some headphones in and I just sit where I lie and I'm still.
And when you have a goal, do you write it out? Do you, do anything to lead yourself towards that particular target?
As an athlete, I have got a collection of novels almost about my commitment to my goals and my self-evaluating feedback toward those goals. And it's a series of books, a collection of basketball books and then sailing books. There's probably about 8 sailing books in 6 years of exactly that. And then, as in my new political role, initially I was writing everything down and saving every single bit of paper, but if I did that now, the papers would be up to the sky. Right. So it's a much shorter documentation, and it's not necessarily goal setting now, it's problem solving for other people.
Yeah, right.
So this is not about my goals, this is about creating solutions for others.
But, it sounds like it's quite a similar process though, that you're still setting a target, heading towards it, bringing people along with you.
Absolutely, working out who can help in this journey and connecting people who need to share information or be part of that journey. So there's definitely a target at the end of it all, but it's based on the needs of the individuals that I meet along the way.
And do you think that there's been any sacrifices by other people in terms of you getting towards your goals, or extraordinary luck or anything like that that's kind of come from outside of your control?
I think I've got an absolutely fabulous partner at home. I've had an amazing mother, and I've got an incredible sister who have been ever so supportive of me getting to where I want to go. And I've got a great team that I have in my office here in Woy Woy that are just amazing, supportive and driven to make the best solutions for the constituents in the electorate of Gosford.
Yeah. Do you feel like you've really accomplished something? Do you have that feeling that I've got somewhere?
Well, when I go home every day and I tell my partner that I love my job and I wake up every morning and I can't wait to do things, I think that's probably a sense of you're pretty happy with where you're at.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
Like, that's a privileged space to be in life, and that's a place that I suppose it's set a goal to be in, and I didn't really know what this job would look like, and I think a lot of my life is spent not really knowing what it's going to look like, but I'm just aiming to go there. And this is fabulous, absolutely fabulous.
Do you know, that's a really interesting point, Liesl. I think a lot of people talk about making decisions when they're in their space of, you know, moving forward, making good enough decisions, that they're not necessarily, I know exactly what the outcome's going to be, and I know where. It's much more like, this is the best information I have at this point, so I'm heading that way. And that makes a big difference, you know, instead of getting caught up in the detail.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, and then we've got to win the election, and then what does the job actually look like? Oh my gosh, you should see all the beautiful coloured folders of all the things I have to deal with. I really didn't know exactly what it was going to look like, but I just embraced it, and I just love it.
Yeah. Now I want to ask you about character strengths. There's a lot of research about what character strengths help people move along, and I'm going to list a couple out for you. I want you to tell me perhaps what you've relied on most. So some examples are good judgment, creativity, teamwork, forgiveness, kindness, sense of humour, courage, perseverance, things like that. What kinds of, I guess, traits or strengths do you think you've relied on a lot?
I think, oh gosh, I've got a compassion. Like, I love being with other people, and I love listening to other people.
Yeah.
Well, that's a pretty hard one. You go, give me that list again.
Yeah.
And I think also, like, I think the upbringing and being outside the box, I don't necessarily think in the same linear fashion as a lot of people. So I've got this creative thinking going on. I've always got about 73,000 things in my head at a time. Of things that are going on in my head. Character traits. I wish I had more patience.
I would, I'd have to say.
And I'm pretty determined.
Yeah, you must have a lot of patience, would be my feeling, to have kept achieving
I wish
the
I
things
had
you've
more,
achieved.
though.
Yeah, well, I think probably everyone would say that. But I also think you mentioned a sense of humour has been really helpful. Teamwork,
I think maybe not just a sense of humour, a sense of fun.
Yeah, right.
So even above and beyond, and creating fun, not just finding things funny, but actually creating fun. And
that's
having
interesting.
A laugh.
I've had someone else say that to me, that it's your responsibility to create the fun in your life. You've got to take that responsibility and make it happen. Okay, so if you could go back and do your life again, do you think you'd make the same choices? You'd be retired.
No, I'd be tired. I'd be tired if I had to live it all over
do it
again.
all over. Would you make the same choices?
Make the same choices? Well, I definitely wouldn't have stacked my bicycle. Not that it was a choice that I made.
Yeah.
But that would have definitely made my life very different to the life I live now. So I think the choices I've made is about living the best possible life I can.
Yes.
So if I had it over again, mate, I'd love to be able to walk in high heels along a really skinny fence or jog on the beach, but this is the life I've got, so it's about making the most of it. And if I dwell on what it could have been, I'm wasting time because I can't change it.
Yeah. I think that's a really important skill that you have in doing that. And I think it traps a lot of people, that dwelling on why me and, the world's against me and what's the point. And I really like how you instead focus on, well, this is how it is, now what?
Well, it's also interesting, a lot of the work I'm doing now is that our constituents come in with quite a big story of what's happened, but it's like, you know what, we can't change anything that's happened. I need to clarify what your story is and where do we go from here? Yeah. Like I can't change any of your past, I'm sorry, but what can I do to help you move forward from here, how we can create solutions?
Yes. But I think that helps other people get out of that space as well, get out of that stuck space and move forward.
Absolutely.
Based on your experiences, this is my last question, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Based on your experiences, how do you use the skills you've learned in your life now? How do you apply them now?
It's interesting. As a bossy teacher, I have to get the most, with due respect to our constituents, my time's really precious. I have to try and use questioning very carefully to find the information we actually need so we can get to the bottom of the story and create a solution with the resources that we have. So I think my whole life's been, I grew up with very limited resources and a lot of creativity to create what we had out of those resources. And I think when you're in opposition, it's probably still the case, working the best way to do it. But yeah, the skills I have to make my life great. I still have a bit of fun.
It sounds like you've applied those in so many different aspects of your life where you go, well, you know, this is where we're at now. So how do we move forward? How do I kind of do that efficiently and effectively, and keep pushing? So
absolutely. And what does that end goal look like? And what are the steps we're going to take to get there?
Yeah. That's been fantastic information, Liesl. Thank you very much for talking to me.
That's absolutely lovely. Thank you.
Is there anything you want to add? Is there anything you think, particularly women are particularly my target audience. Is there anything messages you think that women need to get to help them push through their own challenges?
I listened to Christina Keneally, who was the Premier of New South Wales a couple of weeks ago, the first female Premier, and she said, you know what, everything I did was the first. I had to dress as the first. I had to be in communication as the first. And she said, you know what, and I just did it. Yeah. I just think the advice to women is not be scared. Not be scared, and set your goals as big as you possibly can, because you know who ticks it all off at the end? You. It's your life. Yeah. Make it as big as you possibly can and don't be scared. Yeah. Absolutely. Love it. Fantastic, Liesl. Thank you so much for your time. Okay, I'm just going to talk to you a bit about the strategies and skills that Liesl identified that she's used. One thing that she brought up a number of times was that there was no other option for her but to push through. She never saw, giving up as an option. It wasn't even on the scorecard. It was always about how do I get to where I want to go? How do I move forward? Which I think reflects that drive that I've heard in a few interviews now, that is this, there is no other choice but to push forward. And that's a real motivator. She also said that she grew up and had this background where creativity was encouraged, and where finding, interesting or different solutions to problems was also encouraged. She was never held back or limited in any way, and that allowed her to be creative and open-minded to possibilities. One big thing she said is she never looks backwards. She never lets herself get stuck in that process of why me. She always looks at, so what now? This is what I've got, or this is what we've got at hand. These are our resources. How do we progress that and move forward towards the shared goal that we have? And team, she said, was critical for her in sport, in her work life, in a variety of different parts of her life, in her family. Everybody was working as a team and supporting her to accomplish her goals, that she felt she didn't really do them on her own. It was always a part of this unit of people working together to accomplish things. And she said that success was a little bit less tangible and obvious. In fact, she did say she didn't feel like a success, which I think is amazing. But she was saying that what she does, rather, she's just an ordinary person, but what she does is sets herself targets and goals and works towards them. And when she's achieved that one or close enough to that one, then she'll set herself another target and move on to that one. So I guess the target or the goal keeps moving, and she just keeps working towards it. There's not a finished end point. She said she's utilised character strengths, a number of different things she mentioned, but one in particular, she mentioned determination, and I think that's obvious that she's used a lot of determination and perseverance. But I also think one she mentioned that was important was compassion. She said she really related to people and connects with people and values others. And so she had a real sense of compassion, and that's been one of her strengths. And finally, one thing that she mentioned a couple of times as well was that fun was critical. She's got to have fun in her life. It's got to be fun. She's got to be enjoying herself. And that's a really key part for her to keep going and keep pushing forward.
All right, hope you got a lot out of that interview with Liesl, and I'll catch up with you again soon. Thanks for listening.